Welcome back, guys. So today I want to take you through another Kaggle dataset, similar to my previous video where we explored a dataset on Kaggle and we answered some questions using some of our data skills. So today what I want you to search for is a file, a data file, which I myself published, Occupation Shortage Australia. Get the spelling right. It's this one right here. Occupation Shortage List Australia 2021 to 2024. So in the country of Australia, there are a number of industry sectors which are experiencing a shortage of skills and talent. And every year, Australia publishes this list. And what I've done is I've consolidated all 4 years into one single file for 21, 22, 23, 24. You can actually get the actual list, occupation shortage list, online as well. So if you want to see the original source data, you can do so by visiting the jobsandskills.gov.au list here. And here you can see they've got more of a visual representation. But what we're going to do is explore this in Kaggle today. So what I want you to do is download the file. Once you hit download, you will come across, let's just dig it out here. You will come across an archive folder. You want to extract the folder and open up occupation shortage list, which is an Excel file. So let me just show you some of the work I had already started previously. Let me start from scratch again. Before we jump in, I also want to take you through some of these questions. So we'll solve as many of these as we can. I've split the questions by some common data analyst questions, some data transformation questions, and then finally some machine learning ones. I don't think we'll get the time for this one, but I may do that on a separate video. So let's begin. Initially, let's have a look at the data. So once you've extracted the data, you want to take a look at the columns. So you want to basically explore the data set that you have. So firstly, we have this ANZZSCO column, which effectively is a identifier for every single job role. And what we have here is a number of jobs. So, first one is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island education worker. We also have accountant, we have accounts clerk, actor, we have advertising manager. The list goes on and on and on. It goes all the way down to 3,571 rows, and you can see many of these repeat. So you're probably wondering, Sid, why do these repeat? If you scroll to the right, you'll see that we have a number of additional columns, and then on the far right, you have year, and this is the identifier here. Basically, every year these jobs are posted, and what is mentioned in the middle is whether or not they're in shortage. So here you can see this first role is not in shortage anywhere in any state, but for the second year in 2022, there is a shortage in the state of Victoria. So real quickly, Australia consists of a number of different states and territories. Australia states. So forgive my spelling here, but let's have a quick look. So Australia has a number of different territories and states. It would help if you know these, right? So here you can see you got many different states. I think it's around 6 states, and 2 of them are actually in the territories. It doesn't really, you don't have to master these, but it does help put into context the data you're looking at. So what we have here is a grading of whether no shortage, or whether there's a regional shortage. And if you click on the drop down value, you'll see that. And there's also a fourth one as well, which is metro shortage. And then you also have one of the columns, which is a national shortage rating, this one in column C. So here you can see whether on a national level there's a shortage as well. And you can obviously filter for these as well. And on the far right, you've also got a skill level. I don't actually know what these skill levels mean, but one of the questions is to look at the skill levels. So let's begin. Let's look at the first question. We're going to do this in Excel. You can do this in Python or Pandas, however you wish, but we're going to do this in Excel. So the first question we have is, how many occupations are listed in across 21 to 24? So the way I would do this is firstly, select all your data, insert into a table. I've already done that. And once you've done that, you'll have a table name. This is table 1. Now, the reason for doing this is it's quite simply is because it allows Excel to model and build off of this table. So what I want to do now is select the table again. You don't have to select everything, but then you do pivot table. So insert pivot table, from table range. And then we're going to give it a name. We're using table 1. We're going to place it in a new worksheet, and we're going to add this to a data model. We're going to click OK. So now we've got our pivot table. So the first question is, how many occupations are listed in total across 21 and 24? Now remember, these occupations also repeat. So the way to do it is to quite simply take all of the occupations and just put it on the right. However, if you did that, you'd get a count, which would double count all of your roles. So you'll see this role here, for example, would be counted 4 times. This role will be counted 4 times, this code right here. But really we want a count of 1. So to do that, you make sure you add it to a data model, right click on your values and select value field settings. And at the bottom, you have distinct count. You click OK. And that's your answer, 916. Now you can bring in the years, but really I don't think you need it here. So you can do this. You'll still get the same grand total, but Control Z, we still get the answer we need. So the first answer to question 1 is 916. Okay, so that's the answer for question number 1. Question number 2 is, which skill level has the most shortages overall nationally? So to do that, what we're going to do is copy and paste the pivot table. I don't want to create another one. Let's try that again. Just make sure we copy the full pivot table. This time I'm going to drop the column and start again. So the question now is, what skill level has the most shortages overall nationally? So remember, we've got different columns for different states, but the one we need is the national skill level rating right here. And then we want to know which skill level. So now we need to look for skill level. The field that identifies that is skill level here. So if we now bring this in to our rows, we can now start to dive into the skill level. Now, really, we should bring the shortage, the shortage grade to the filters, right? So let me just make some space here. Separate this from the previous question. So what we're going to do is only select multiple items, only shortage. Okay. So we want to see all national shortage roles by skill grade, and we're going to bring in either the ANZ SCO code or the occupation job title. Either or, doesn't matter. I'm going to bring in occupation, and it gives us a count. And once again, we need to do a count distinct because we're dealing with repetitive data. And voila, we got our answer. So we have for skill level 1, we have 176 short roles. 2, we have 41. Skill level 3, we have 101. Skill level 4, we have 49. And the most is your 176. You can also sort this as well. Do a sort large to smallest. So the answer to this is, for question 2, is skill level 1. Right, so we've done these two, fairly easy so far. Now, we've got a few more questions. How many roles in Northern Territory have a skill rating of 2 or more in 2024 that are in shortage? So this is interesting. We now need to pivot the data in a bit more detail. So I'm going to copy this, go down, paste it here. And now we're looking at Northern Territory. So let's build it. Let's remove Northern National Shortage. Look for Northern Territory right here and bring that in here. Okay, and now we need to get rid of, let's have a look here. Northern Territory, skill rating of 2 or more in 2024. So we also need year. So let's bring year into filters. We need to look at 2024 only. So I've selected 2024. We're only looking for shortage in Northern Territory. So we're going to select shortage here. And we want to look at skill level of 2 or more. Yeah, 2 or more. So we need to select our skill level here on the left on the row labels. Get rid of 1, keep 2, 3, and 4. 2 or more. And the number we're looking for is 175. So that's our question 3 answered. So a bit more tricky. You need to dive into a few more filters and filter your data, but that's the quickest way to get your answer. Question number 3 is now done, and the answer is 175. Right, we're now going to get a bit more complex. So between 2021 and 2024, which state saw the biggest rise in jobs with shortages? So we need to think about this carefully. And the way to do this is this is spelled wrong actually. This should say between, not between. We need to firstly look at the number of states that had a gap in 2021 and the number of states that had a gap in 2024, and we want to effectively find the biggest of those gaps. So the way to do it is really we'll create a pivot for every single table. If we go into Northern Territory, we're going to remove our skill level. We're going to bring in, what did you say we needed? The rise in shortage of jobs. So we're going to bring in shortage here. Make sure we got shortage. That's correct. We're going to look at 2021. We only need these four. So we need 2021 and 2024. But what we're going to do is bring year into columns. Okay. So now we're going to remove grand total. So I'm going to do remove grand total, right click and remove grand total. And then what I need is territory along the left on rows. Now the thing is, unfortunately, we don't have a single column for territory. All the territories are split. So we're going to have to do this multiple times, unfortunately. There is a way to transform the data. We'll cover that later. But for now, let's look at Northern Territory. Let's copy and paste and do the same. So we've got that shortage, 2021, 2024. I'm going to copy paste this one. So guys, I've skipped ahead and I've produced a pivot table for every single territory. So we have a territory here, only selecting the shortage grade for year 21 and 24. We have two values and I've copied and pasted all of them for the same state going all the way down. It's quite manual, but the way to get your answer now, going back to the question, is between 21 and 24, which state saw the biggest rise in jobs or shortages? So we need to find which of these territories had the biggest rise. So the simplest way to do that is create a formula. So we're going to do C34 minus B34, and the answer is 41. So this increased by 41 for Northern Territory, 150 for Australian Capital Territory, 131 for Tasmania, 179 for Western Australia, 141 for South Australia, 138 for Queensland, Victoria is 140. Copy and paste the formula again. New South Wales is 78. So the answer we're looking for is the largest of these, which is Western Australia. So the answer for question 4 is Western Australia. And I'm just going to highlight this as well. So we've got all our answers. So we know clearly what we're saying to be the answer here. So guys, that's questions 1 to 4 done. Now we've got a few more to do. How many roles in New South Wales were in shortage in 2021 and still in shortage in 2024? This is where it gets a bit more complex, and now we need to think a bit more differently around getting an answer. So the first thing we need to do is identify all roles that are short in 2021, okay? And then for New South Wales. And then secondly, we need to find the same that are short in 2024. So this is how we're going to do it. We need to go back to our data first and foremost and identify all those roles that are short. So we're going to take a copy here of New South Wales. I'm going to remove everything here and keep New South Wales in our filter. So again, let's look at this. 2021. So we need to bring in all the roles basically. So if we bring in all the occupations into our rows, we now have all the roles that have some shortage. We now need to bring in the year. If we bring in year into columns, we now have 21, 2024, but we actually need all the years. So the answer again is how many were in shortage in 2021 and still in shortage in 2024. So actually we need to just look at how many were short in 21 and 24. So we can go back and just remove 22 and 23. So we just keep these two. So now we need to tag which of these were short. Okay, so we've already got the filter for shortage. We've already got the filter set for years in our columns. Occupations is in our rows, and New South Wales shortage rating is in filters. We now need to bring in the occupation year, the occupation if we now can bring in the code, for example, so we can now drag this in because we're already using occupation, so we can't use that as a unique identifier. We're going to bring in ANZSCO into values, and we're just going to write here, you know, a count, yeah, a distinct count if you like. It should all be one. So now what we have is an identifier, right, a flag that says that this role was short in 24, but it was not short in 2021. So what we want to do is find an instance where it was still short in 21 and still short in 2024. So basically examples where there's a 1 in each 21 and 24. So this is one of them, yeah? So the best way to identify this now is to basically use a formula. So this one here is going to be 1. If you sum both of these together, you're going to get 1. So therefore, they're not. This roll is not short in 21 and 24. We want a sum of 2. So I'm going to create a sum, okay? And the sum is quite simple. It's B 90 plus C 90, okay? That gives us 1. I want to take anything that has a 2 in it. That effectively says to me and answers a question: which roles in New South Wales were short in 2021 and 2024, and this is one of them. Okay, so let's take all this all the way down, and we've done it. Okay, so you can see several of these, many of these are short in 21 and 24. Now, the answer is how many? So to do this, we need to filter on all the twos. Okay, so when you go all the way back to top, we need to filter on this, on sum. You can't actually filter here with a floating formula. So what we're going to do is copy this, and I'm going to paste it into a new sheet right here. And now I'm going to add a pivot, a filter to my rows, my fields here, if you like, my column headings. So now I can just expand these a bit, just make it a bit easier for you guys to read this. So I've pasted this. Now I can add a filter to it. So now I can just filter to 2. So what we have now is all the roles which were short in 21 and 24 for New South Wales, and the exact count, if you go all the way down, is in fact 1, 3, 4. So our answer to question 5 is 1, 3, 4. I'm just going to write it down for now. 1, 3, 4, not 1, 3, 2. Question 5. Okay. So we've now solved question 5. So this, guys, is quite messy. It's not ideal way to do it. You can do it in other ways, but this is how I would answer the question if you're looking at it from a data analyst lens. There are other ways to do this. For example, you could use a formula. So go into your data table here and set a formula using the if, else, then formula, whatever you want that to look like, a multi-conditional formula. But the pivot table will get you the answer. The only thing you got to remember is with a pivot table, you can't just filter on this new sum column that we've created. So you can actually create a custom field using this. Go into field items and create a new field completely from scratch to get your sum. But the quickest way I would do it is just to simply take this, copy paste it into a new tab, and then you can answer. So we have now done question 1 to 5. The last one is following on from Q5, which of the same roles are also seeing a shortage in Tasmania. So the way to do that is to quite simply identify all of these roles and then flip it for Tasmania. Okay. So the way I would do it is to write back to the data source. So let's do this. We're going to write a flag now, and the flag is yes. Okay. So we're going to take this flag all the way down. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to the data source and create a new column called flag. And this is a flag for all of our short roles, okay? So what we're going to do is equal VLOOKUP, and I'm going to look for this job title right here where it matches the job here and bring back the yes flag, okay? And I'm going to close this, put 2 and a 0. I only want, actually I want 1, 2, 3, 4, row number 4. So I need to put 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to bring back the 5th column here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we put 5 here and close it with a 0. We need an exact match. This is our range, but we need to anchor it using a dollar sign. Same in with the E and the 430. Done. So basically, these all look like NAs, but if you look carefully, you'll see a lot of these are yes. So now if we just filter for our yes, these are all the roles that are short in New South Wales in between 21 and 24. Now for 2024, if we just look for Tasmania, remember the question is, following on from question 5, which of the same roles are also seeing a shortage in Tasmania for 2024? We're just going to go to Tasmania, shortage, okay, and year 2024, okay. So what we're now saying is the same roles that we identified in New South Wales with the yes, we now have the same filtered for Tasmania, and the count here, because remember I've already selected 2024, is 107. So our answer for question 6 is 107. Hope that makes sense. Now this is something you need to get familiar with, writing back to the original data set, and we're using a flag. So we know which roles were short in 21 and 24. We used a formula for identifying them, and then we create a flag, a custom flag. And with this custom flag, we just set yes, and we write back to the original data source which of those roles were short in New South Wales between 21 and 24. Once we filter to yes, we can then filter to Tasmania, which is what the question is based on, short in Tasmania for 2024. And then we choose 2024 here in the year. Make sure you choose shortage here. And now you have the same roles, but you need to do a count to see how many of them are also short in Tasmania. And the answer is 107. So guys, hope that helps. That's the first 6 questions I want to take you through in this tutorial. It's already quite a few minutes in, but what I want to take you through next time is the remaining questions we have here. We'll do some data transformation in the next video, and if we get time, we'll look at the last big one, which will require some machine learning. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope you like this. Please do explore the data set. Any questions or anything, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll post a link in the description on how you can get this file. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye for now.